If you spent the last 6 months studying SailPoint and the GCC you just interviewed with runs Saviynt, I want you to know that's not bad luck. That's a gap in how IAM professionals in India are being advised right now. And it goes the other way too. Saviynt specialists who can't get past the first screening at JPMorgan or Deutsche Bank, not because they lack skill, but because they backed the wrong platform for that environment. 12 to 18 months of your career gone. This video fixes that. SailPoint versus Saviynt. What they are, who uses what in Indian GCCs, where the jobs actually are, and which one you should be building on right now. This is not a vendor brochure. This is the real picture. Let's get into it. Section 1. What these platforms really are. Both SailPoint and Saviynt are identity governance and administration platforms. They do 3 things very well. 1. Manage who has access to what. 2. Enforce who should and should not have that access. 3. Generate the audit trails that Sarbanes-Oxley (SOX), Payment Card Industry (PCI), Reserve Bank of India (RBI), and internal compliance teams depend on. But their origins are completely different, and that matters more than most people realize. SailPoint started in 2005. It was built for large traditional enterprises, banks, insurers, Fortune 100 companies. Its flagship product, Identity IQ, became the gold standard for complex, regulated environments. If your organization has mainframes, legacy enterprise resource planning, ERP, 15-year-old joiner, mover, lever workflows, then there is a very high chance SailPoint is already in the building. Saviynt, on the other hand, was born in 2012. Cloud native from day one. It targeted companies that were already on AWS or Azure or actively moving there. Its strengths: cloud entitlement management, a modern user interface UI that business users can actually navigate, and faster implementation cycles. So at a high level, SailPoint is the incumbent, Saviynt is the cloud first challenger. And this difference becomes very important when we talk about Global Capability Center (GCC) hiring. Section 2. The GCC landscape. Who uses what? Down the Indian GCC market, specifically in banking, finance, services and insurance (BFSI). There are 3 categories you need to understand. Category 1. The global majors JPMorgan, Citi, Deutsche Bank, BNY Mellon, HSBC. These organizations have been running SailPoint Identity IQ for years. Their identity and access management IAM teams in Bengaluru, Hyderabad, Pune are heavily SailPoint driven. Search for IAM roles on LinkedIn in India today. Roughly 60 to 65% of active job descriptions mention SailPoint. That number tells you where the volume is. If you want a role at a tier 1 GCC bank, SailPoint is not optional. It is the entry ticket. Category 2. New age GCCs and fintechs. Digital banks, insurance, GCCs, non-banking financial company NBFCs that stood up their identity programs in the last 4 or 5 years. Many of them went straight to Saviynt because they were building on cloud from day one, they needed modern cloud governance, and they wanted faster deployment cycles. Saviynt appears in roughly 25 to 30% of Indian IAM job postings today, but that number has nearly doubled in the last 2 years. The growth trajectory is real. If you want to work in a cloud native environment, Saviynt gives you a strong edge here. Category 3. Organizations in transformation. This is the most interesting category and the most valuable one for your career. These are legacy banks that already have SailPoint on-prem but are now evaluating Saviynt or SailPoint's own cloud product Identity Now called SailPoint Identity Security Cloud, as their future state. These teams need people who understand both platforms. The architecture, the migration complexity, the governance gaps that appear when you move from one to the other. And these roles consistently pay the highest. So the real answer to which platform has more jobs is this. SailPoint still leads in volume, Saviynt is growing faster. And the highest paying roles right now belong to people who can speak both languages. Section 3. Certifications and learning curve. Let's talk about what it actually takes to become credible on each platform. SailPoint offers certifications through its university learning portal. The primary one is the Identity Security Engineer exam. It covers identity IQ architecture, role modeling, access certifications, policy management, and Bean Shell scripting. If you're coming from a Java background, Bean Shell will feel familiar. If you're not, then budget extra time. It's the part most identity IQ learners underestimate. Identity IQ is powerful, but it is genuinely complex. Expect 3 to 6 months of serious hands-on work before you are job ready on this platform. Identity Now, the cloud version, is a different experience. Cleaner APIs, wizard-driven configuration, better community content. If you are starting fresh with no strong reason to go deep on Identity IQ first, Identity Now is the faster path to your first SailPoint role. Saviynt offers the Saviynt Certified Implementation Specialist through its Learning University Hub. Most practitioners find Saviynt more approachable. The UI is modern, the data model is well documented, and the cloud integrations are more plug and play. You can get to a productive level in 2 to 3 months of focused study. Here is the honest caveat though. Saviynt's community ecosystem is significantly thinner. If you get stuck at 2 in the morning before a deployment, you are heavily reliant on vendor documentation and whoever is on your internal team. SailPoint has a much richer community, more Stack Overflow threads, and more independent training providers in India. That gap matters more than people think when you are learning independently. Section 4. Skills that transfer. Before we get to the recommendation, there is something I want you to internalize because it will change how you present yourself in every IAM interview going forward. Let's start with the one that most people overlook. Mainframe integration. If you have worked with Z/OS, RACF, flat file feeds into an IGA platform or JCL based provisioning workflows, that experience is rare. It does not come from certifications, it comes from years inside that environment at a bank. Tier 1 GCCs, the ones running SailPoint Identity IQ against mainframe identity data, they struggle to find people who understand both sides of that equation. If you have it, do not bury it in your resume. Lead with it in every conversation. Now the broader point. The platform is the tool. The real skill is identity governance. If you deeply understand access certifications, role-based access control, segregation of duties, lifecycle management, and how to connect all of it to a SOX or RBI audit, you can move between platforms with ramp-up time. Hiring managers at GCCs know this. What they are actually evaluating in an interview is your governance thinking. The platform is secondary. What transfers well between the two platforms? If you move from SailPoint to Saviynt, your Bean Shell and Java experience maps to Saviynt's Groovy-based scripting. The concepts of application onboarding, entitlement aggregation, and certification campaigns are nearly identical across both platforms. If you move from Saviynt to SailPoint, your cloud entitlement governance experience translates directly to Identity Now, which is where SailPoint is taking its entire product direction anyway. The fundamentals carry you. The platform is just the configuration layer on top. Career optimized answer based on where the Indian GCC market actually stands right now. If you are at L2 and want to reach IAM architect in the next 12 to 18 months, start with SailPoint Identity Now. Not Identity IQ, Identity Now. The job volume is higher, the cloud version is faster to learn, and the SailPoint brand opens more doors at Tier 1 GCCs than anything else right now. Get certified. Then build a hands-on proof of concept even in a home lab environment and put it on GitHub. That project on your profile does more work in a GCC interview than the certification line on your resume. Once you have SailPoint credibility, add Saviynt awareness. You do not need a full Saviynt certification to speak intelligently about it in an interview. Understand its positioning, its cloud governance strengths, and where it differs architecturally from SailPoint. That breadth is what moves you from L3 into an architect level conversation. If you are already a SailPoint L3 and you are feeling stuck, do not switch platforms. That is rarely the unlock at this stage. What actually moves the needle is adding a governance framework on top of your technical skills. Map your current work to SOX controls. Understand ISO 27001 well enough to present it to a non-technical stakeholder. Consider CISM if you are serious about the CISO track. This reframes you in your own mind and in interviews from a technical implementer to a security leader. That shift in framing is often the difference between staying at L3 and being considered for head of IM. If your organization is currently evaluating both platforms, get in the room. Volunteer for the RFP process, sit in on vendor demos, ask questions even if you think you already know the answers. People who have been part of a platform selection have a career story that no certification can replicate. That experience signals judgment, not just execution. And judgment is what CISO track roles are built on. The SailPoint versus Saviynt debate will keep going. Vendors will rebrand, release new features, and make big promises at every conference. But the fundamentals of identity governance never change. Who should have access, who shouldn't, and how you prove it to an auditor at 2 in the morning when the SOX review is live. Focus on those fundamentals. Build on a platform the market is actively hiring for. And keep upskilling in public, because right now your GitHub and your LinkedIn carry as much weight as your resume in a GCC interview. One more thing before you go. If you are currently preparing for an IM architect interview at a GCC bank, drop a comment below with the company name or just say help. I am planning a dedicated interview prep video and I want to make sure it covers the right organizations. Your comment takes 5 seconds. It shapes the next video. If this was useful, subscribe. I post practical IM and AI content specifically for GCC professionals in India. No fluff, no generic advice, just what actually works in this market. Thank you. See you in the next one.